Hello YouTube, thank you for tuning into my channel. I am Azrael. In this video we are going to be talking about the court cards in my tarot reading course. Okay. Before I go further, I want to point out about something about the swords, which I should have covered earlier. Well, swords, if you've been watching, know they represent the element of air. So obviously they are associated with plants of air, planets associated with air, other things associated with air, such as travel, intellectual pursuits. But they also represent something that's kind of not really fit with the air. Problems, troubles, and problems. These are a keyword. Your intuition will help you know, based on the surrounding cards, follow-up questions, and the original questions, and where they lay in the deck, and if you are going with reverse meanings or not. But a good example is this card. Now I'm jumping ahead. Okay, this card usually, traditionally, is associated with love triangles, which could be between three people, obviously, but it could also be between two people, and one of the lovers, one of the people involved in the relationship, is putting something ahead of their mate. Could be their work. They could be putting their job ahead of their family. Maybe a hobby. I met some guys that actually will have their girlfriend in their lap, and then when their team gets a touchdown, they jump up, go, yeah, and she falls to the floor. Somebody that has an extra love that is conflicting in the relationship. It might be a person, might be a hobby, might be money, right? So anyways, let's get started. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. One more tidbit. You can pull another information based on some other archetypes. A lot of people do not know that originally, when the tarot cards were introduced as a card game, before they were used for divination, the four suits represented the four main classes of people that lived in the Middle Ages. The swords represented rulers or noble people, and with great position offers great responsibility, so it often is also associated with problems. Kings, they might have the awesome rule, but they also have the burden of the crown. They have to solve problems constantly. So in the tarot cards, swords at least sometimes pull away from the element of air and talk about troubles and problems. As I saw this right here, okay. But that's how that associates, kind of goes that way. That's why some of the artwork is kind of messed up. But anyway, so swords represent noblemen. The cups represented the priestly class. Anybody involved in spirituality. Modern day, it don't have to be associated with Christianity, obviously, but back then it was the Pope, the priests, the nuns, the bishops, the friars. Now it could be it could be Joe Blow off the street who gives you some spiritual advice. Okay. And then you have the pinnacles, which represented the merchants or people who had offered their services for money, carpenters, peasants, some peasants, which of course goes without saying. The wands represented the scholarly class, people who were scholars. And you would figure that, of course, it's also associated with air, but I'm just saying that this is an extra pull. Again, usually you won't find of this kind of information just in a tarot book. This is just historical knowledge. Anyway, let's get started. Now, obviously, what we're talking about right now is the beginning. Remember from the first part of the video how I said the 10 major arcana have some kind of influence over the one of their number. So the magician represents manifestation, represents action, represents an understanding of above as below. He's the magician. He brings things into existence, new beginnings. which also, here's another pool of information. You can use numerology if you know numerology. I myself don't really use numerology that much, but the numerology of the tarot is slightly different than traditional numerology, but in this case, it is the same. Number one, beginnings. So in manifestation, now see, you see how in all these cards, especially the ace, you have a hand just manifesting things into reality, just right out of nowhere. Poof. So new beginnings. New beginnings financially or physical endeavors. This represents fire. Fire in this situation, the best key word is action. Okay? Action. New actions. New emotions or new outlook on emotions. Okay? So we move on to the twos. Well, what does two represent? Well, High Priestess talks about duality. The High Priestess talks about hidden knowledge, intuition. Okay? Balance. So here you have the swords, you have her blind, which this properly represents justice. So it's keep telling you to keep a balance, an open mind on the pros and cons of a specific situation. Again, balancing. Sometimes in order to balance things, we have to juggle our finances. So choices, again, not all these everything I say goes with the twos, not just the suit that it's with. So here he is, he's balancing finances, making sure you have a balance of the physical, don't spend beyond your means. Make sure you live in a balanced situation. Action, balance of action. Okay. Make sure that every time you create an action, it's well planned. Basically, it's balance of action. Don't go out and buy a new car if you can't afford it. Make sure everything you do in your life is balanced in accordance with action. Every action you do, make sure it's been heavily weighed. Make sure what you're about to do will be balanced. It's timing, it's planning, plan of action. Again, two represents duality and choices through all the deck. This might be talking about a choice of two different people in a relationship, or a choice you have to make in a relationship. Do you choose your job? Do you choose to be by yourself? Ultimately, it's choices, emotional choices. Again, weigh the pros and cons. It's that simple. Threes. Three ruled by the Empress, and Empress represents manifestation. If you remember the esoteric teaching I taught about how the full untapped potential, manifestation, planning, ambition, planning, then manifestation. That's what this is. Three is manifestation. Now, in this card, this is a traditional card, has a very strong traditional meaning about a love triangle. Maybe between three people, maybe between two people and an object. Maybe one of the mates in the relationship is putting too much emphasis on work instead of the relationship. Maybe too much emphasis on their friends or a hobby, sports. But someone in the relationship is competing with something else, a real person or an ideology or hobby, whatever. Okay. Cooperation, celebration. Emotionally, too, the benefits of such friendship, the manifestation of friendship. and the cooperation, a need to focus on these things. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to represent a person. They can represent situations. I'm emotionally tied to various things, and I have to find a balance of the things that I enjoy in my life. Okay? And also manifestation. You see, these cards, hold on, that's right. Action. Now, again, the key word for wands is fire. Element is fire. The best one for fire is action. See, he's facing off, looking to the future possibilities, and he's steadfast on what he's already accomplished. It's behind him. The action of manifestation. It's kind of maybe hard to draw meanings for that, but that's exactly what it means. Manifestation of finances or other physical wealth. Maybe it's not money, maybe it's possessions. But in either case, the dude is standing and proclaiming something. People are listening. Maybe he's trying to sell something. But in either case, this is a manifestation of something physical. Now, it could be emotional, because emotions give physical responses. Now, I want to take a pause here. The reason the minor arcana often are the most difficult to learn for most people, because unlike the major arcana, which obviously tells you what that means, usually by what it is, at the bottom of the things, justice, courage, world. So you can pull from that archetype. It's really hard sometimes for some people, especially new beginners. But understand, the minor arcana reveal more aspects of the major. When I first started tarot, I got disenchanted. I'm like, wow, really? A lot of their meanings come from the artwork. Yeah. You might not like that. You might not want to believe that, but that's exactly what it is. See, there's other ways of reading the tarot, where they call it card movement. Basically, the pictures on the card tell a story. And when you look at it, you create a story in your head. And sometimes if the court cards are facing to the left, it could be the past. If it's looking to the right, it's to the future. There's so many different meanings and so many different ways to interpret it. It's very confusing. So that's why I'm teaching a elemental-based platform. Understand what I am saying is not the main meanings I'll say it's not the end-all meanings. Let the tarot speak to you. Let you understand what it means in relation to the major arcana and the elementals. And that's a good base. Start from there and develop your own. You might not like my keywords, but I guarantee you, if you could buy 100 books on the tarot cards, and they're going to say something very similar. But the problem is that when they say something similar to what I just said, they might say something wildly different. And that's very confusing. And that's why it's very important when you're learning something, keep a focus, keep a narrow window to build a platform for you to build on. Kind of like creating a metaphysical north, so you'll know which direction is which direction and what to do. Because the truth is, they can mean anything. Anything that means that your conscious and your reality tells you it is. But the problem with that is that we need to know up and down, left and right. In order for us to move forward, sometimes we have to have our bearings. And that's why I'm teaching a platform, a simple platform. It's not an absolute, but it's something to build on. And once you build on, you know where your mental north is, and you can go any direction you want or any directions the universe wants to bring you, but you still have a foundation The foundation is very important, but the foundation is not an absolute. Okay, so I will continue this with another video as I am hitting the 15-minute mark. I would be like some of these YouTubers and literally talk for 30 minutes to an hour. However, I discovered that the shorter the video, the more views. The more views, the more likes or dislikes. So, chalk it up to human habits. See you next video.